Today, we're going to be talking about how to have more peace, more joy, and more happiness in your life. Let's dive in. Today, I'm going to talk to you about something that will make your life so much easier. It will bring so much peace to your life. And it's very simple, but just because it's simple doesn't mean that it's easy. It's actually very hard. So it's simple. It's not you're going to have the whole grasp of it by the time when we get done here today. But to actually go and implement it into your real life is going to be a little bit hard. And today's going to be a really deep episode. We're going to go really deep. We're going to talk about forgiveness today. And I want you to understand this. You've been fucked over in your life in some way. I've been fucked over in my life in some way. And to be honest with you, it will probably happen again at some point in time in our life. But what I truly believe that every single person at their core is good. Everyone is good at their core. Now, could there be a whole bunch of, mud and muck and shit thrown on top of that core? Absolutely. But I think that any person was born good and they still have that good inside of them. It's just might be really hard to find because of their life circumstances and what they had to go through in their life. And I believe that every person is good and every person has innocence in them. And anything that takes them away from that, it's the thing that takes them away from that is what makes them quote unquote bad. It is what makes them unaware of how they screwed you over. It makes them cheat. It makes them steal. It makes them do the things that they wouldn't necessarily want to do at their core. Because we don't necessarily stay innocent, right? We don't stay innocent. Like we're not the innocent children that we were. Things happen. Life happens. Trauma happens. Society happens. Instagram and seeing where other people's lives are and comparison happens. Thinking that money is going to change the way we feel about ourselves happens. We have all of this stuff happens. The world happens. It's just part of growing up is that we get disconnected from our true self. And I think that all of us in the world, all we're searching for is really peace, not happiness. Happiness tends to be a byproduct of peace, but not happiness specifically because happiness is a fleeting emotion. You could be really happy this morning. You're having a great day. You have a cup of coffee, and then you get a call and somebody tells you some bad news, and that happiness is gone immediately. That's a fleeting emotion. Peace is a state of being. You get that call, and although it make you feel a bit different, you can still have that state of peace, whatever that call might be. And you cannot have peace, like real, true peace, if you see the world and everybody in it as guilty, as bad. If you see everybody on the news and you see all the stuff that's happening at all points in time, there's always something happening. Whenever you listen to this episode, I guarantee there's something happening on the news or somebody that's doing something bad. But you can't have peace if you see everybody as guilty and see everybody as bad, or not everybody, if you see people as guilty and see people as bad. And I think the key to unlocking peace is to know that there are good people out there and that everybody is good, but they are just lost. And I'm going to be honest with you, there's a lot of people that are lost nowadays. A lot of people are lost. And anyone who does any bad towards themselves, towards other people, towards any living being, towards the earth, is lost in some sort of way. And so anybody who does something quote unquote bad is lost from their true self. And when I say they're lost from their true self, they don't actually know what they're doing. They are aware of what they're doing, but they're not aware of how lost they are from who they truly are. Anyone who has hurt you is absolutely 100% hurting themselves in some sort of way. Because whenever they hurt you, they are identifying themselves and digging themselves deeper into the hole of that identity. Anybody who's cheated on you is now looking at themselves through the identity of I am a cheater. And they're deepening that hole that they're in. They are lost. And if somebody hurts you in some sort of way, or somebody has hurt you in some sort of way, to hold resentment towards that person only hurts us. And so now it's not just them that is hurting, but it's also us that is hurting as well. It's like there's a Mark Twain quote that says, anger and resentment is the acid that burns the vessel. So whenever you hold anger and you hold resentment towards other people, That is the acid that's burning the vessel. That is the thing that is eating you up from the inside. So now it's not just this person that has done wrong to you, and they know they've done wrong to you, and now they are identifying themselves as that person who's done wrong to you, and they're hurting themselves even more by hurting you. But also now you're hurting because you have so much anger and resentment towards them. For something as valuable as your health, there's no reason to leave anything up to chance. Whether you want to improve your heart rate, your cognition, your metabolism, your sleep, your stress levels, or just your overall health span, InsideTracker provides the scientific tools, personalized insights, and everything else that you need to optimize your health from the inside out. Created by leading scientists in aging, genetics, and biometrics, InsideTracker analyzes your blood, DNA, and fitness tracking data to identify where you're optimized and where you're not. You'll get daily action plans with personalized guidance on the right exercise, nutrition, and supplementation for your body. Be sure to add InnerAge 2.0 to any plan for a definitive calculation of your true biological age to see how you're aging from the inside out. InsideTracker also provides a personalized action plan for science-backed recommendations with the goal of improving the quality and quantity of years ahead of you. One of the things recommended for me was intermittent fasting 7 days a week. This is something I've tried before and I loved, so it's refreshing to know that it's a fact and the right choice for my body. For a limited time, get 50% off all InsideTracker bundles and 30% off everything else. Just go to InsideTracker.com/dial. That's InsideTracker.com/dial. Someone who, for instance, breaks into houses and steals stuff does not want to do that at their core. They don't. Their true self, and I mean, when I say true self, they've broken away from their true self. Their true self, that beautiful, innocent little child, is who they are at their core. That child that's inside of them does not want to do that. I remember years ago, I had a company that I had a franchise with, and somebody broke in and stole the TV and the Wii that we had. If you can remember Nintendo Wii. And it was the first time anybody ever like stole something that was significant as far as price goes for me. And, it was probably $1,000 worth of stuff. And I was 22 at the time, so it was a ton of money to me. And I remember that night I had to run a meeting, and everybody in the room was like, what happened to the TV and the Wii? Because we used to play, we used to have fun after meetings, all that stuff. And I was like, somebody came in and stole it today. And they're like, well, aren't you mad? Aren't you pissed off? And I said, you know what? They don't know what they've done, and they're lost, and they probably need it more than me. So I can't really be mad at them. And by being mad at them, I'm just holding on to something that I don't want to hold on to. And everyone's like, okay, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And so someone who breaks into houses and steals stuff does not want to do that at their core. It's, a child who was not raised correctly. It's a child who was not loved correctly. It was a child who has too much fear built into them from the world or from their parents, or maybe they were fully neglected. It's someone that's hurting. And when you can see that, you can have more peace. I don't see the person who did it. I don't try to look at that. I personally have been working with people for so long, 17, 18 years at this point, that I can see everyone as they are, but behind everyone as they are, I also see the little child who was hurt, the hurt child who's behind that. The hurt child who didn't get the safety that they needed from their mom. The hurt child who was yelled at too much by their parents. The one who was neglected emotionally or physically or whatever it might be. Whenever I'm looking at someone, it's really hard to be mad at them when you understand that behind that adult is just a child who is hurting and didn't get the love that they needed from their parents. And when you can look at it that way, it makes it much easier to forgive somebody and be at peace. Now, I'm not saying that you just let everybody step all over you. That's not what I'm saying. You definitely have to have boundaries, and you definitely have to, fight for yourself whenever you need to. But what I'm saying is, if you can start to have the lens of there's a hurt child that's back there. If somebody cheats on you, there's a child who probably didn't get the love that they needed from their parents, and so they're searching for that love through other people. There's a hurt child that's there. There's always a hurt child. That's the thing that I've come to realize, that there's always a hurt child. Someone who cheated on you, it usually has nothing to do with you, but their lack of love for themselves, which came from their lack of love for their parents, so they have to go search for it in someone else. It's really a search for love. It's a search for acceptance. It's a search for self-worth. It is, I'm only worth it whenever I go and and have sexual relations with other people. And so really what it comes down to is there a lot of bad that happens in the world? Fuck yeah, it's all over the place. But you have to realize the bad comes from people who are lost. And the world needs more people who are found. And there's only, in my mind, sanity and insanity. And when I say insanity, I don't mean like insane, like clinically insane. But sanity is to be in a state where you do the right thing for yourself and you do the right thing for others. That's the way that I see it. Sanity is someone who is in the state of sanity, is someone who does right for themselves and does right for others, and doesn't try to hurt themselves and doesn't try to hurt others. Insanity is to be unaware of how you hurt yourself and hurt others. You are unconscious in that place. And when you hurt others, you hurt yourself because you carry that wrongdoing with you. You do. And you know that you did that thing that was wrong, and now it becomes part of your identity, and you start to dig that hole a little bit deeper. And so another way that might be a way of saying, and if you don't like to use a phrase of sanity or insanity, is love and fear. Like when you look at love is sanity, to do the right thing for you and to do the right thing for others. Anything that is not love is insanity. Anything that is in a place where you're unconsciously hurting yourself or unconsciously hurting others or consciously hurting yourself or hurting others is insanity. You or that person is lost. They're lost. That's what it comes down to. Everyone is just the way that they are, and everyone's doing the best with what they have. And I am of the belief that whoever it is, if I would have been raised in the exact same body as them, with the exact same circumstances, every single moment of their life, I would probably make the exact same situation, the exact same decisions that they made in certain situations. And so if you were in their exact same shoes or their exact same parents, their exact same childhood raising, you would make the same choices. Someone's actions is always a reflection of their consciousness. And like, if you look back, like one of the things I love to do is I love to look back at like ancient texts, all of the ancient texts. And like one of the ones that we can reference here is if you think of like Jesus, for instance, whether you believe the story happened or not, doesn't matter. But really what it comes down to is when you look at the story itself, he's literally being murdered. And he says, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Forgive them for they know not what they do or what they're doing. Right. And so it's like he sees in that moment, these people are unconscious. These people are lost. Forgive them because they're lost. He can see in that moment a hurt child, someone who is disconnected from who they truly are, that is going and hurting him because of it. He could see their past actions and their current actions as not being conscious. They were not sane. A sane person would not do those actions. And so what it comes down to, and there's story after story after story that are ancient texts that have stories like this, right? Our truest self, if we can look at it and not be triggered by other people, or at least be triggered and then take a step back and say, okay, can I see this with a new set of eyes? And see it through like our true self, our deep core, who is that little innocent child that's filled with love. Our truest self would see a sick person that's in need of healing, right? This person that just fucked me over, this person that tried to steal from me, this person that broke into my house is a sick person in need of healing. Like I remember seeing a video one time of a lady whose son was a teenager and her son was murdered by another kid. And in the courtroom, she goes up and she gives him a hug and she says, I forgive you. And the kid starts crying and she says, I forgive you because you don't know what you've done. You weren't conscious at that moment. She's like, if you need anything, I will be here. And so I don't know how, that's got to be really hard. That's another level of consciousness, right? She is able to see that her son was murdered by somebody else, and she's able to see that hurt child that is lost on the path and did that thing because they were lost, right? The ego sees an evil person that's in need of punishing. Our truest self sees a sick person that's in need of healing. Everybody wants happiness. Everybody wants peace. Everyone is always doing what they believe will bring them happiness and what brings them peace. So what you judge in someone else and you condemn in someone else, you strengthen in them. So if you judge and condemn somebody who is a thief, it strengthens their identification in themselves as a thief. If you judge and you condemn somebody who is a cheater, it strengthens their identity of themselves as a cheater. If you judge somebody, whatever you judge them for, it strengthens that identification with themselves, which gets them even more lost on the path, right? Someone who's a thief, someone who's a cheater, someone who screwed you over, they do not feel good about what they did, I'm sure. deep at their core. Their truest self knows that it's wrong. And so to judge another person and label that person as a thief or as a cheater strengthens that belief in them, which is not even their true self. And so really what it comes down to is if we want to break the cycle, it actually comes back to us, right? They see, oh, I'm a cheater. Oh, I did this wrong to them. And they know it. So that strengthens their unconsciousness and their being lostness, I guess you could say. It strengthens that. But if we want to help everybody get back to their truest self, what do? We can learn to try to figure out a way. It's not always easy. I promise you, I understand this isn't easy. I said at the very beginning, it's very easy, but it's also extremely difficult. But if we can learn to forgive and love somebody else, then maybe they could start to see outside of that identification that they have as the cheater or the thief. And they can start to find the path back to who they truly are. And it starts to relieve them from the unconsciousness, from the insanity, from the being lost, so that maybe they can start to find themselves. And so really what it comes down to is a state that we're in. Holy shit, this is crazy. The state that we're in towards that person influences whether they continue to stay lost and get more lost or have an opportunity to re-identify themselves let's say rediscover themselves might be a better way of saying it. And so really what it comes down to is it's good for us to be able to forgive and to say, hey, that person knows not what they do. But it's also good for the other person. And we might also be like, well, fuck that other person. Well, that resentment is also something that you need to work through, right? But it helps us because we can release it. We don't have to carry those negative feelings with us anymore, because those negative feelings of resentment and anger, they build up inside of us and they make us unhealthy. But also at the same time, when we do that, we can allow other people to stop identifying and maybe get out of the cheater or the thief identity and start to identify the wrongs that they've done because of the way that we've treated them. I know, I get it. It's a deep episode, but really what it comes down to is how do we get better at just forgiving people and not allowing other people's actions to change the way that we feel about ourselves, about other people, and about the world. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on your Instagram stories and tag me at Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. And once again, if you live in the United States or Canada and you want to receive weekly inspirational text messages and videos from me on your phone, go ahead and text me right now, 512-580-9305. Once again, 512-580-9305. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day.